it's remarkable that when the program starts, you're like, oh, I don't know how this is all going to come together and how these kids are going to learn all this stuff in 6 weeks, and then you just follow this curriculum and it's all laid out for you, and then at the end of the 6 weeks you look back and you see all this progress. I mean, we have kids that started the program that couldn't sit for circle at all, weren't able to say their first and last name.
We had a lot of kids that maybe have never been in a social environment before with playing with other kids, and it was amazing to see these kids that would play by themselves the first week and would not share without having a breakdown. The last week joining in play with everyone was playing together one day outside. They created their own game and were playing together and sharing toys and taking turns and just things that at the beginning were like, what are we going to do? Because they just can't do it, and it's just amazing how they've come along.
They would come up to me and say, look what I did, I can do this on my own. They were proud of the things that they had accomplished and the skills that they could do just from taking those few minutes to show them how to do it. And even the parents would come in and say, wow, like, I didn't know my kid could do this, or so-and-so came home today and told me that they did this. Did you really do that? Like, and so all these people were like being impressed on how like a positive program this really is and how it really benefited each child individually, not just as a group, which I think was just awesome that we could do that. And the program's designed so nicely that at the end of the week I know all which kids know their colors, which ones know their shapes, which ones know their numbers, and because it's designed that way, it's better because I can now move these children where they need to go to be farther on the developmental checklist. And some of them are off the developmental checklist, so you're trying to find new ideas to challenge them farther because they've just excelled so well. So
it's not just the kids who've never gone to school before that you're walking through the process, it's also the parents who've never had children go to school before. So I mean, that in itself is a bit of a learning strategy for everybody involved, and having parent sessions and involving parents and being able to, you know, have an instructor talk to the parents every day at the beginning and the end of the program is also, I think, something that those new parents really do appreciate, because for them it can be really hard to let their kids go, and even harder for the ones maybe who have gone to school before, but you know, you're not really sure like maybe where your kid's totally at compared to other kids. And so when you can sort of say like the successes of the day to parents and give them specific feedback of how they can help their child out, or things that maybe were a challenge for them that day, I think that not only enables the kid to grow a lot faster and sort of improve on so many different things in a shorter span of time, but you're just sort of involving totally different angles of that child's life, having parents and other peers and other parents involved, and then the teacher. I think that's really like a sort of a full circle aspect for that kid's sort of educational development.
Thinking that it helped to change a lot of like preconceived negative views and attitudes that some of these parents had about school in general, and maybe they had a bad experience, so you know they feel, oh, my kid's going to have the same experience because I hated school and you know I never learned to read, so you know why would my kid? And it was really neat to see a lot of these parents come out after and say, gee, you know, wow, like I'm really impressed. My kid had a great time in this program, and he really came home happy at the end of the day, and he was really, really excited to go back again the next day. And I think that it really helped to change their attitude into a more positive attitude about school in general, not just school, but you know, give them more hope for the future about the school program and hopefully getting them, you know, through.
I mean, the developmental checklist is so easily laid out that you can really just follow it, and it's not complicated by any means. It's a really amazing tool to use to really know where kids are at. Like, I felt by the end of the first week of school, I could tell you who in my class could write their name, who knew who they were, and who knew stuff about their families. And then at the end to go back through it again and so clearly see like where that kid had moved in every single category it made me feel like I was doing my job well. So I guess it was like a good positive feedback for me as an instructor, and I think the people that I was working with, just knowing, you know, we actually did make a difference and here's the physical difference that we made, so I really liked that way.
I think the way that it's laid out too is really helpful for parents because it's not in complicated language. I know sometimes report cards can be hard to read because they don't understand the language, but it's just, do the kids know 4 to 6 basic colors? And if you write that and say, this is what we're working on, they don't feel overwhelmed. It's something they can follow too, whereas sometimes it might be overwhelming to them.
Having a solution focus is really sort of unique and special to the program because in a regular like education system, teachers just don't have the time to be able to like sit down and sort of problem solve with a child, like how to figure out or solve whatever the issue is, or just like allowing them to take the time themselves to figure it out for themselves, and whether you're sort of prompting them with your questioning or setting things up in a specific way so that they can discover the answer themselves. So you know that you're sort of prompting that child to come up with these solutions or, you know, like answers to problem solving things on their own, which I think makes the experience and what they're learning so much more valuable to them because they've discovered it themselves. You haven't just stood in front of them and sort of figured it out for them. I think that's really what makes it such a unique program.